Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. So the other day on the Greyhawk Grognard Zoom chat that's held every month for members of the Patreon and members of the channel, the question of how to make the ultimate Castle Greyhawk came up, and I thought that would be a good thing to talk about today on Greyhawk Grognard. Now, of course, when we talk about the ultimate Castle Greyhawk, the perfect answer to that question is, well, let's just get Gary's original dungeon and publish that. So, just let's get that out of the way. That is obviously the answer to the question. But since there have been absolutely no public statements that anything along those lines is even being contemplated at this point, and it's been many, many years since we saw Castle Zagyg, and again, no indication that we're going to get any more of that. We have to move on and press on with stuff that we do have. So the question on the Zoom chat came up. How would you make the ultimate one? And obviously, I think from my perspective, because I wrote it, Castle of the Mad Archmage is a good place to start. But if you really want to make an ultimate castle, then you can add on a ton of things here. Now, for me, I've also got, I didn't bring it out for the video, but I've got the Castle Zagyg box set. So I would use that for the Castle Ruins and level 1. And then by some sheer coincidence, all of the staircases and everything on level 2 happen to match that. So I would use this as the core center levels. Now, into that, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can add. And the best and most obvious choice here is Greyhawk Ruins. This is the non-joke version that TSR published by Blake Mobley and Timothy Brown. It consists of 3 levels, or I should say 3 towers, and their associated dungeons. You see that over here. There's the Tower of Power, Tower of Zagyg, and the Tower of War. And each one has dungeon levels, and they kind of interconnect and everything like that. And this is a fine module. It's really, really good. I should do a little more in-depth video on this itself because it's really worth having. And later on, they published an expedition to Greyhawk Ruins, which again I have over there and didn't bring over here. So that expands out some things. It includes the God Trap and stuff like that. But you could definitely take these levels and use them as the sides of the core. So if you've got Castle of Mad Archmage is the core in the middle, you could have the Tower of War be over here, and the Tower of Zagyg over here, and the Tower of Power over here, and you could build your own connections to them, and that way, in one fell swoop, you will have vastly expanded the size of the castle. And don't forget too that there are expansions to this to the Castle Mad Archmage. Now, in addition to that, there's a fascinating thing here. We've got El Raja Key, and this is a great little thing. It's a DVD, CD-ROM, I should say, that Rob Kuntz published a while ago. I don't know if it's still available. I would hope so. It's a 3-line studio. And this is great if you can track it down. It's got scans of a bunch of stuff from the original Greyhawk campaign that Rob wrote, including some of the levels of the castle. Now, most of these, as I recall, don't have any keys, right? It's just the maps. But even then, they're really, really cool maps. And if you wanted to, you could develop your own key off of it based on the theme, and you'll put those, again, as side levels. You could have it, one of these could be like level 6 south or whatever you wanted to do. And if you really wanted to, you could expand it out to have like southwest and northeast and so forth. So you could have like stacks of 9 dungeon levels going as far down as you want. With the core in the middle, and then you've got northeast, southwest, northwest, southeast, and so forth. So you could have like this whole grid stacking down like that. And you could even go further out if you wanted to. And that's not even to mention like demiplanes and stuff. So you could get Isle of the Ape, Bitterbark Circus, which is my own, Dungeonland and Land Beyond the Magic Mirror, which were all published by TSR. And just about any self-contained Demiplane type adventure would work for this. Musicland, which is mine, is also got a place in there, and there's a bunch of things you could do with that. And then, if you really wanted to go hog wild, you could even bring in parts of Castle Greyhawk. Now, this is the joke version. This is the one that they wrote. A bunch of different authors wrote. Each one wrote some one or more levels. And this was basically designed as a big FU to Gary when he departed TSR, and they made this joke module to kind of mock him and his dungeon and so forth. But that being said, this many years later, the sting has eased enough, at least for me, that I would be able to use some of the levels. Some of the levels would work better than others. There's level 2, which is It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to. Yeah, this one, even though it looks like a pretty good dungeon level, it's kind of, it's all just humanoids. But if you go to level 3, then you've got Too Many Cooks, which is a really nice self-contained level. The Name of the Game is another one that would work really well, and there's another one if you wanted to go. Where is it here? It's the Mordenkainen's level. Mordenkainen's Movie Madness. And this is basically, it's a big movie studio. And I would use this, but I would change it to be Zagyg's Movie Madness, because that would fit better with the theme of, he is an insane demigod who's running this place and doing it for his own twisted amusement. So if you have something like that that's overtly silly, you could, I would bring it back to Zagyg and make it... make it one of his specific things, and you could have that, maybe even make that the bottom level of the dungeon, because in mine I've got like this little maze, and it's got an office with him in it, but you could really do something spectacular and make the Movie Madness level that his home level, and work it out that way. So now there's also El Rajaki itself, Maure Castle, I should say, and while we do have a lot of Maure Castle published, some of it was in Dungeon Magazine, we got Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure, I would actually be inclined to leave that as it is, as its own dungeon off to the side. I mean, you obviously could. Nothing says you couldn't just have that, have those layers kind of scattered around the core of a Castle Greyhawk dungeon. But personally, I would want to see it more, left alone as its own intact, self-contained dungeon, because it's a little more thematic. It's got the family and all that stuff. So I would probably be inclined to not bring those in. But there are other things you could bring in, things like B1 in Search of the Unknown. That's a very nice self-contained dungeon level that you could easily slide in as a side level here or there. Some of the others I'm not sure would work so well. Tomb of Horrors, you could absolutely put the Tomb of Horrors in. Oh yes, how cool would that be when the PCs are wandering around in a dungeon, and all of a sudden they notice all the colored flagstones and everything. I wonder how long it would take them to realize what was going on. That would be great. It had never occurred to me before to do that. Rather than having it out on a hill or in a swamp or whatever, you actually have it as a dungeon level. That would, I think, could be a lot of fun, just to see how long it took them to realize where they were. And during this exercise, I'm also not including things like Rappan Athuk or other mega dungeons that are out there and published, because kind of like Maure Castle, they're self-contained, and I'm kind of inclined to leave them as is. But something else that you could also think of, if you've got Dungeon Geomorphs and the Monster and Treasure assortment, or just random encounter tables and treasure tables and so forth, you could make your own dungeon levels. And it doesn't have to be the official TSR dungeon levels, although it's nice because I think they give a really cool feel for just what dungeon levels were supposed to look like in Gary's mind, and how they were in the original castle. So I think that look at the density of these things. I think it gives a really nice feel that you really don't see in a lot of modern dungeons. And then of course the Monster and Treasure assortment, which is really overlooked. I think in a lot of ways, it's really cool. It is what it says on the cover. It has, by dungeon level, it tells you, it gives you, I think, 100 encounters for each one, and then later on it gives you treasures. It's just really, you could. You could do something really cool and random with that, and maybe beef it up with some deliberate weird things, and talking fountains and stuff like that, and traps and things like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. This was we had a lot of fun with this, and it gave me a little time to think about it. But it would be really great to to have that truly 40, 50 level dungeon that to really do it justice, at least until such time as as we get something more genuine from Gary's hand. This is what we would be wanting to do. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any other published modules that you think would work well in this kind of thing to beef up a massive mega dungeon? We're looking for things that are pretty self-contained, that don't rely on a lot of other stuff going on. You go into it and it's a dungeon level and you can go out again. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and hope you're having a wonderful day, safe from Pinkertons. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.